Okay, welcome back. This is Robin Robbins again, and we're here talking about how to build the ultimate marketing system for your IT services business. So just as a quick recap, some of the things that we're going to cover in these videos are the entire marketing process explained. Where do you start? How do you build that autopilot marketing system? What does a marketing plan look like? What does it consist of? And how do you get started so you know exactly where to put your time and resources? The other thing we're going to cover is how to completely change the game of selling by getting qualified prospects to seek you out instead of you begging and scraping and trying to use every trick and tactic you can to get in the door. I'm going to show you how to make that go all away and instead position yourself and attract those customers to you. I'm also going to talk about how do you build an autopilot marketing system. So much of your client acquisition can be put on autopilot and take out a tremendous amount of work and effort that you're currently putting into it. In fact, in my business, I've been able to get close to 5,000 customers. And I didn't add a salesperson until about a year ago. Almost all of those people have come to me through the marketing that I'm doing. And not just people who buy my programs, the Toolkit, the Blueprint, but clients who have paid me $100,000, $500,000 plus in consulting fees. And I've gotten that all through autopilot marketing systems. And I'm going to teach you how you can do that in your IT business because I've already done it for a lot of other businesses just like you, other IT providers, whether you're a VAR, managed service provider, systems integrator. I'm also going to show you how to position yourself as a true expert instead of the Maytag repair guy. A lot of IT firms market themselves and they end up looking like just another technical repair company. And I know for most of you, you want that status as a trusted advisor. And if that's you, there is a way about marketing your business so that you can become that trusted advisor, so that when a client calls you up, they are seeking your advice, not just, hey, our computer's broken, our server's down, come in here and fix it. I'm going to show you how to own that strategic position and give you an enormous competitive advantage over all of your competitors. And once you know how to do that, you're never going to have to compete on price again. So let's get started. There's a few things that you need to know before we get rolling with the content today. The first thing is right below this video and all the subsequent videos that we're going to post here, you're going to see a comment queue right below the video. So if you have questions about anything I'm talking about, what I want you to do is post your questions below this video and I will personally give you my promise. I will get on here, I will read your questions and I will provide answers because I know this is a video and normally when I'm training, I'm speaking to an audience and I can interact with you and I can take your questions, but right now I can't, obviously because of the way we're delivering this, but I still want you to get your questions answered. So any comments or questions, again, put them right below here and I'll make sure I review them and provide you answers. Also, I want you to know there's things I'm going to share with you that you might think you already know. And I would ask you just throughout the series of videos, just for the time we're together, just keep an open mind because the most dangerous thing you can say to yourself in a learning environment is, I know that. Because when you do that, your mind shuts down and you go, yeah, no, I already got that. And I'll tell you, you might know something, but that doesn't mean you really know it, you know how to implement it. See, I don't think you know something until you've actually implemented. Let me give you an analogy. You could read a book on how to drive a car and you could know where the steering wheel is, the brake and the gas and everything there is on how to start up that car and drive it. And in your mind, intrinsically, you know how to drive a car, but I don't think you know how to do it until you get behind the wheel and you can successfully get out of the driveway and go somewhere, then you know how to drive. So it's the same with marketing. A lot of people say, oh, I know about direct mail, or I know about websites, or I know about value selling, or these things. And essentially, they might know it because they have book knowledge, but they haven't implemented it, so they really don't know it. So as we go through this, even if you think you know something, just pay attention to the subtle nuances of what we're doing here because sometimes one little tweak can make a huge difference. I've got clients who just, in changing one thing in their sales presentation, have literally tripled or quadrupled their closing percentages. So pay attention to the subtle nuances and don't just dismiss something because you think you know it. Also, there's going to be things that I share with you that you might not agree with, and that's okay. I'm not here to tell you how to think, and I'm not here to say there's only one way to be right about this whole sales and marketing process, because that's not true. I am here to challenge you though, right? So when you see something that doesn't kind of fit into the framework of what you're used to, I think that's a good thing. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you see a campaign and you instantly look at that and say, well, that'll never work for me because my clients are more conservative, or they're more liberal, or we're in a big city and that won't work in this big city, we're in New York and people are different, that only works in California. Or if you're in California and you look at that and go, well, that'll never work because, you know, our clients are different. Or if you're in a small town versus a big town. Because if you sit there and you dismiss what I'm sharing with you because of an emotional, knee-jerk kind of reaction of that won't work for us because, and whatever happens or whatever comes after the because, it kind of doesn't matter. If you just dismiss it, you're going to miss out on some tremendous information. And I'm going to tell you, everything I'm sharing with you here today works. I have spent over a decade of my life working with directly IT service providers from all over the world. So from small towns to big towns, from startups who have no customers, no money, to larger MSPs who are doing $20, $30 million a year. And I'm telling you guys, this stuff works. Some of it is counterintuitive. I agree with you there. But please just check your skepticisms at the door while you watch these videos. Keep an open mind. And you can always pick up your skepticisms after you've watched this video. If you decide, hey, this isn't for me, that's fine. But try to keep an open mind, because until you do something different, often something radically different, you're not going to get better results. So, you're doing whatever you're doing and you're going, well, we have these nice brochures or trifold brochures and a very professional looking website. Well, if it's working and it's bringing you all the clients you want, great, keep doing it. But if it's not, maybe you need to look at a different way. And so I'm going to be sharing with you some different ways of marketing your business. It's all going to be based on case studies. It's all going to be based on what I've learned working in the trenches with my clients. And I'm going to prove it to you. I'm a fanatic for proof, because in the world of marketing where I live, there's a lot of erroneous ideas of what good marketing is and what it should look like. And a lot of it's based on opinion or personal preferences. And so when a business owner looks at a certain marketing campaign, the first thing they usually think of is, would I respond to that? And if they instantly go, well, I would never respond to that, they think their clients would never respond to that, and therefore they don't use that marketing tactic. And I'll give you an example. Even in my own business, I hate pop-ups. I think they're the most annoying things in the world. And for years, I refused to do pop-ups on my websites. But you know what? I said, a friend of mine was having great results with it. I thought, well, let me test it. I mean, that'll tell me whether or not this works. And I was shocked. It ended up dramatically increasing our opt-in rates and dramatically increased our conversions, and I think to the tune of $30,000 to $40,000. So even though I hate them and they're annoying as far as I'm concerned, the results don't lie. So when I share with you this stuff, number one, again, I will prove it to you. I will back it up with case studies and examples. And number two, I would just suggest that you test things. You can always go back to what you're doing now. You can always go back to your old ways if you want, but at least give it a chance to work, and give it a good chance to work. Don't just try it sort of half-ass and then say, well, that didn't work. Well, anything you do half-ass isn't going to work. So make sure you really fully give it a chance. All right. And then the other thing is, there's a chance I might annoy some of you. As a matter of fact, I just used a swear word, and some of you probably are going to get offended by that. And right below here, well, why do you have to swear? So there's a good chance I'm going to annoy some of you, because I'm very blunt, I'm very direct. I'm not the warm, fuzzy kind of tell you that that you're wonderful. I'm going to tell you like it is. I'm going to tell you what you need to do. I'm going to tell you your baby's ugly, if it is ugly, and what we do to fix it. Because when clients come to me, typically the sales curve is going down and they want to see that going up. And that doesn't require coddling. That requires sometimes some decisive action and straight talk. So I'm going to be very direct, very blunt, and there's a chance that I'm going to annoy some people. If that's the case, then great. But here, I'll share this one thing with you. I don't know if you know this or not, but the way a pearl is formed is a tiny piece of sand gets into an oyster's shell, and it acts like an irritant. And the oyster then creates a protective coating around that piece of sand, which we call a pearl. That's how pearls are formed. So if I do annoy some of you, hopefully I'll annoy you into gleaning a pearl of wisdom. So let's get started into this presentation. One question I do need to answer is, who is Robin Robbins? And why the heck should you listen to what I have to say? So some of you who are watching this might be long-term clients, or you've been on my list and you kind of know who I am, but I know there's going to be a ton of people watching this who have never heard of me before. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of who I am and my background. First off, I want you to know I have spent a decade of my time researching, developing, testing, and refining marketing and sales strategies for IT service companies. And I'm not an ivory tower consultant, so I'm very much in the trenches with my clients. I run the largest sales and marketing coaching program, and so we have quarterly meetings, and I'm face-to-face with my clients. I'm on the phone with them. I'm dealing with their challenges. So I want you to know everything I've developed here is based on that in the trenches, real world experience. I'm not delivering a book report up here. I'm not delivering what I think should work or my opinion. I'm basing it on research, hard fact research, testing, and development of over a decade of working with all kinds of IT businesses, small to large, all over the world. All right, I also want you to know I've got 4,500 clients, so I'm not talking about a small segment either. I'm talking about a pretty large sampling of IT business owners. So small startups to larger companies, like I mentioned previously, to all kinds of different, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, New York, and every place in between. And I've got clients that are international as well, in England, in Australia, in Spain, in Brazil, Hong Kong, you name it, it's all over the world. And again, I'm very much in the trenches, and I'm going to tell you guys what I'm sharing with you here today is going to work. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I run the largest sales and marketing coaching program in the country, in the world, as far as I understand, from the size of clients, the longevity, and what we deliver here. So that is my big think tank, and I constantly get emails and calls and interactions with my clients to know what works. And so if anything, what I'm going to bring to you in this video sequence is what's been already tested. And one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins a long time ago was this concept of modeling. And the concept of modeling is if you want to get any result in your business, and it doesn't matter what it is, or any result in your life for that matter, you don't have to recreate the wheel. All you got to do is go out, find somebody who's getting those results, model what they're doing, and you should be able to get the same results. It's like a chocolate cake recipe, right? Just like Tony says, success leaves clues. And if you study successful people, you definitely see commonalities in there. So that's what I'm going to bring to you today. Based on all these years of what I've seen work and not work, I'm going to share with you exactly how to build this marketing plan. And then also, I just want to point out, I do have more documented client success stories than anybody else in this industry doing marketing consulting for IT firms, period. Now, and again, I don't say that to brag. I feel it's my duty to you. If you're going to be sitting here and listening to me and saying, well, you know, who is this redheaded chick to be telling me how to be marketing my business? I better be able to back that up. And I think that's really important. So this is not a book report. This is not me reading things and kind of regurgitating some high in the sky, pie level theory on what marketing is. None of that. This is really a straightforward, here's what's going to work, and I can back that up. And again, any of the case studies, you can contact my clients. They're all over. They're very easy to find, and I think you're going to find it's a pretty consistent story. All right, so one of the questions I get asked all the time, what kind of results do your clients get? Well, what I'm going to show you here is the average increases for all of the candidates in a Better Your Best competition over the past 3 years. So let me explain what I'm showing you here. We've got a lot of clients, and not everybody reports their results. Some people report them, but they report them as a percentage of increase, or they say, hey, you just helped me get more clients. And so to give you a statistical average of what results my clients get is very, very difficult for obvious reasons. So, and I don't want to make up numbers, and I don't want to mislead anybody, all right, because there's so many different variables that go into that. However, every year for the last 4 years, I have held an annual boot camp where my top clients come in. They fly in from all over the world, and we spend 3.5 days together sharing marketing best practices. And every year I run what's called the Better Your Best competition. And that's where I pick 7 of my most successful clients, and they actually have to compete. They have to actually submit an essay with financials, so they can't just make up numbers and say, I made $1 million. They actually have to back that up with some financials. and the marketing campaigns they use to generate that income. So those results I can validate. And when we took the averages of all those people over the last 4 years, in this case, I did just the past 3 years so that it's more current, so you know, these were the average increases those people got. And these are numbers I can stand behind because, again, we require people to provide some financial documentation, so it's not just pie in the sky numbers. And the average increase over the last 3 years has been a 102.9% increase in gross sales, a 335% increase in profits. Now think about that for a second. Now here's what's powerful. Gross sales is one thing, but the net is what matters. Okay, so you can have a $10 million a year company working your butt off, but if you're not making any money profit coming in, then what good is it? I'd rather have a $1 million a year company and have a 50% profit margin than have a $10 million a year company and have a no percent profit margin or a negative one. So profits are really important. So 335% increase there, an 81% increase in recurring revenue, and a 382% increase in the number of managed recurring clients. And so again, you can see the last 3 years have not been the easiest years in this economy. And talking to my accountant, he said that in this year, the average business that's been in business for 5 years, small, medium business, has had a net loss of around 10%. And so when you consider that and you look at these numbers that these people have achieved, that's pretty amazing. And they've done this through smarter marketing, more strategic marketing, thinking about their business different, thinking about their customers different, and that's what I'm going to share with you. So, give you an example. Who are these people? Just to tie this in. Randy Hall, Worldland Technologies. He's in Medina, Ohio. In 90 days, he said he went from under $5,000 a month to $42,000 a month in recurring revenue that hits his bank account before he delivers any service. And it's all from my type of marketing. And that's him standing there actually next to the Jaguar I give him, because the winner of the Better Your Best gets a brand new car. Pretty cool. You go to some seminars, they give away iPods, we give away cars, you know. So the next case study, Brad and Victoria Myers, they were the next years. They were 2010 spokesperson. They won the competition. Using our strategies, they increased their managed services recurring revenue by 87%, new clients by 73%, and net profits by 292%. And that was in a very, very tough economy. The next case study here is Tom Malesic, Easy Solutions. He enrolled in my program in 2009 and a year later had added $35,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Now that's monthly recurring revenue, okay? And if he didn't grow or shrink, this year he's going to do $658,000 in managed recurring revenue. That's amazing. So he says when Robin gives you the winning lottery ticket, all you have to do is cash it in. So those are the kinds of clients that are getting the results with these systems. I'm sure you can identify with some of these. These are not multi-million-dollar companies. Some of them are doing under $1 million, like Brad and Victoria Myers. They're under $1 million, and some of them are doing more, like Randy and Tom. So again, really diverse group, but they're getting great results, and they're all over the country. Tom's in Pennsylvania, Randy's in Ohio, Brad and Victoria are out in California. So again, this works all over the place. Please don't dismiss this thinking that it won't work for you for some random reason. So let's get into this content a little bit. Let's talk about why are so many IT business owners struggling to get more clients. And there's 5 really key things I see, 5 reasons why this happens all the time. Number one reason is that they make emotional, knee-jerk decisions about marketing based on their ego or personal opinion. And I already touched on this a little bit. So again, they look at a marketing campaign, they go, well, I would never respond to that, or that doesn't portray the kind of look we want, that looks hokey, that doesn't look right. And they make those opinions without testing it, without researching. And that's a really bad thing to do. I'll tell you, in the world I work, which is in the marketing world, and I've worked for a couple different agencies. In my earlier days, when I was just getting started, I used to have this big ego, and I would look at a marketing campaign and go, well, that'll never work in a million years. And I'd find out later it generated all kinds of crazy results. And then there's sometimes I'd look at a campaign and I knew for a fact it was going to work, and then it bombed. So really quickly, when you've spent as much time in the world of marketing that you have with me, definitely there's things that you can see that are commonalities, but never dismiss something without testing it, without asking what are the results people are getting with that. If somebody's getting great results with a strategy or a tactic, then replicate that and model that. And if your professional, corporate, bland, plain vanilla marketing is delivering all the clients you want and you're happy, great, then keep on using it. But if not, again, you want to take a little bit of a radical different approach to how you're marketing and promoting yourself. Number 2 reason that many IT firms struggle to attract more clients and close more sales is their marketing plan is made up of random, intermittent attempts to get their name out there. So what does that mean anyway? Get your name out there. See, that to me is a completely wrong purpose. Most of the clients I work with, if they spend $1 on marketing, they need to get like $10 back and preferably the next day in their bank account. So you don't want to just do marketing to get your name out there because you can't measure it and you can't monetize it. And by the way, what I'm going to teach you here is educational direct response marketing. And what I mean by that is it gets a direct response. It's measurable, so you know when you spent $1 here, you got X dollars back, and you know how you got it back. In addition to that, it gets your name out there as a byproduct. So the purpose of a marketing campaign should never be just to get your name out there. And second of all, your marketing has to be consistent. You can't just do it once in a while, right? If you went to the gym once a month or whenever you got around to it, you're not going to lose weight, you're not going to be very fit. All right, you got to do it consistently, you got to eat healthy, and you got to exercise consistently to see results. Because the minute you start neglecting it and you stop being consistent, that's when you start losing the effectiveness. And it's the same with your marketing. You've got to commit to it being ongoing. You can't just do random acts. The third thing is they can't articulate their value proposition or why a prospect should hire them over all the other options available. So ask yourself this and be really honest. If I was your customer and I'm sitting across from the desk from you and I'm evaluating whether or not I should hire you, one of the questions that's in my mind that I might not say verbally, but I'm certainly thinking it, is why the heck should I trust you? Why should I pay you when I've got all these other options? Other options being your direct competition, which many of you probably are aware of. Another competitor might be, well, why can't we do it in-house? Why can't we hire somebody to do this in-house for us, or just kind of keep makeshift the way we are? That's a competitor. You got to think about that. That's a competitive option. Why should they hire you over that? And then, of course, the other option is just to do nothing. Why everything's working fine, so why should I hire you? Now, you've got to have a really good, solid answer to that question, because if you don't, you're going to end up getting shopped on price and overlooked because you blend in with everybody else. So you really got to work your guts out to get a good answer to that question. And we're going to show you some examples of how people have done that. But just know that's one of the reasons why your marketing's not working. It's just because it's probably not very effectively explaining why should somebody buy from you. Fourth, they completely wing the sales process and have zero systems regarding how they attract new clients and close sales. So when you go into a sales meeting, do you go in with an agenda? Are you prepared? Have you scripted out the way that you explain the value of what you offer? Do you know how to overcome the common objections? There's only a couple. We don't see the value, price is too high. I mean, have you sat down and actually thought about that, or you just kind of show up and roll with whatever happens? Most cases, most IT business owners have absolutely no system. And actually, if they think they do, if you follow them around for a week and see what they're doing, actually it's pretty random. They're doing whatever it takes. They have no process. They have no system for that. You do not want to be trusting to close sales on these random cowboy strategy of you just show up, and if you're having a great day and maybe you're on that day and you really close the sale, great. And if you don't, well, too bad. You want to have some predictability. I call it like franchising your sales system, all right? You don't want to just, again, go in there, show up, because here's the other thing. If you ever want to hire salespeople, you want to teach them a process, because otherwise you're going to hire salespeople and you're going to give them the 2-part training, which is good luck and hang in there, and they're not going to, and hopefully if they're good enough, they're going to be able to sell some stuff, or most cases they're going to fail. Most salespeople fail because there's no system, there's no process to follow, and therefore they're winging it because you're winging it, and there's no way you can build a business that way. Think about when you go in and install a network for a client. Hopefully you've got a process for that. I mean, I hope you do, and I hope you don't just show up and randomly start plugging wires in. And imagine what a mess that would be. So your sales needs to have a system. It has to have a process. It should be mapped out and documented. Number 5 is they focus on marketing tactics and tricks instead of developing a solid marketing strategy. And again, we're going to get into this more as the presentation rolls out. But marketing is not just postcards and email campaigns and websites. You want to be very strategic in your marketing. You want to think about what you're doing, who your customers are, that competitive advantage, and then go to market with choosing the media, which would be how you get that message out there. So let's talk about your strategy, the foundation of developing a successful marketing plan, because that's what I just said was really key. So we're going to talk about that right now. Now, I'm going to take a higher level approach to marketing, and I want to kind of help you understand the concept of your marketing strategy. So when you're thinking this out, you've got your big picture strategy, and your big picture strategy in your business should be your target market. Who are you selling to, in other words? What's your competitive position? Meaning, if you're going out there, who else is selling to your customers? What are they offering? What are they not delivering? What do your customers want? What's a need that's being unserved to your customers? You ought to know that, because if you don't know that, how are you going to determine your market position? And of course, that's determined by who your target market is. So you understand, you got to have a real clear picture on this. A lot of managed service providers I talk to or IT consultants, they basically just open a business because they say, well, you know, we talked to a couple people and they seem to want us just to handle all their IT needs, or they are looking for someone who just take over this thing, and well, geez, that sounds like a good idea. We can do that. And then they just start up a managed services business without really researching who else is doing managed services, what are they offering, what does the market want, really not looking at that. And they end up really struggling, because everybody can get 1 or 2 or 3 clients. That's easy. But if you want to really build a profitable business, you've got to look at these things. Also, how will you make money? That's all big picture strategy. Market trends. Right now, in the world that we are all playing in, cloud computing is taking hold big time. And Microsoft and Google are in a big dogfight over who's going to own the customer. And they're essentially eliminating a business's need to have that server in the closet and these bloated workstations. And if that goes away, then the need to have somebody who can come in and install that and support that goes away too, or it's greatly diminished. So you got to look at market trends and see where are things going, because you don't want to be building a break-fix company today, or maybe, you know, even getting into managed services and putting a ton of effort into that right now. You ought to be looking at that, but you also need to be looking at like cloud computing. Where are we going? And just as an aside, just to clarify, because I know I'm going to ruffle a bunch of feathers with that comment about managed services. It's not to say that you shouldn't be selling managed services. There are tons of people that are still buying it today. And I'll tell you this, those people who already have contracts with their clients selling managed services are in a far better position to make that transition to cloud computing than most. But you just got to understand, this is where the market's going. This is the way technology is evolving. And you've got to ask yourself, what is your value play in the marketplace? You know, where are you going to add value? What problems are you going to solve for what customers? And you really got to think that through. Once you've got the big picture strategy, then we want to get into the 3 core marketing systems in your business. And the first one is going to be lead generation. The second one is lead conversion, or selling once you get those sales. And third is maximizing client value. Now, what do I mean by maximizing client value? Because I think the other 2 are pretty clear. Getting leads, converting them to customers, and then you need systems for maximizing client value. What I mean by that is, how do you get them to buy more? How do you get them to upgrade their contracts, cross-sell them other solutions? How do you get them to refer? How do you get them to be raving fan loyal customers? All right, so you have to have strategies for that. And so once you've got your big picture strategy designed, the next thing you've got to break your marketing down into are these 3 categories. And everything you do in marketing is going to fall in one of these categories: lead generation, lead conversion, which is your sales process, and then maximizing client value. So think of it in 3 buckets. You're going to need strategies and systems and tactics for each one of those areas, okay? And if you break it down that way, it'll probably make it a little bit easier when you're planning out your marketing. And then once you've got your big picture and you know your 3 core systems, then you get into marketing tactics. Now, marketing tactics are email campaigns or direct mail or trade shows or yellow page ads or any of these kind of marketing tactics, if you will. Now, here's the key thing. Most business owners, when they think about marketing their business, they start thinking about tactics first. So they sit there and they say, okay, we need more customers. So should we do direct mail, or should we do Google AdWords, or should we do search engine optimization? Or, hey, somebody contacted me about advertising on airplanes. I mean, you wouldn't believe the kind of people that advertising you can do. And so without having a big picture strategy, they don't know who their customers are. They don't know what they want. They don't know who their competitors are, what their value proposition is. Without thinking through any of that, they just start randomly shooting out tactics. And the problem with that is they fail. They get really very little results. And the reason is, again, they're focused on the tactics. Let me give you another analogy. Tactics are like, say, if we were building a house. The tactics would be the wood, it would be the nails, it would be the hammer, it would be the saw. They are the tools that you're going to use to build the house. But you don't just start hammering wood together and sawing stuff and painting and putting bricks up. You need a plan, right? You need to know, you need a blueprint. You need to know what's the big picture strategy. We need to survey the land. We need to think about where the sun comes up, where it goes down. How are we going to position this drainage on the lot? You've got to think of all those things before you even build a marketing plan or building plan. And then you build that building plan. And then once you've got a picture of what you're trying to build, then you start looking at the different tactics. But again, most business owners start the other way. They start with these tactics, direct mail, email. These are just message delivery systems. And you don't want to get caught up on, well, is direct mail better than email? Well, I don't know. It depends. It depends on who your target market is. It depends on the kind of list that you have, how you're going to communicate with them, what are they most responsive to. And that, again, they're strategy questions. So you've got to have those answered before you start picking marketing tactics. Okay. So you know when do you know when you've got a solid marketing strategy in place? Number one is you know exactly who your ideal prospect is, the problems and frustrations they have, what methods are most effective for communicating with them. You also, your marketing collateral, be it websites, direct mail promotions, any other kind of things, marketing campaigns you're using, they position you as the go-to expert and clearly articulate with solid reasons and in plain English why a prospect should hire you over any other competitor. And let me stop here for a second and give you an analogy. It's a great story. I've told this before, and it kind of drives home the point. One time I was at a seminar, and we were delivering marketing. And actually, I've been in this world of marketing for a long time, and I didn't always just service IT. I specialized that in about 10 years ago. But prior to that, I had done marketing for a lot of different industries. So we're in this seminar, and we were talking about this topic, about differentiating and unique value proposition. And a guy who was in the audience owned a dry cleaners. And he says, you know, I get what you're saying about differentiation. And he was kind of angry and he was kind of upset. And he said, but you know, the fact of the matter is when it comes to dry cleaning, people just shop on price. And right down the road for me is a guy selling cleaning shirts for $1 a shirt. He's got it advertised and everybody goes to him. And it just, you know, I don't care what you say, there's no value prop, we do a good job and all the rest of it. But bottom line, people are just shopping on price. So I took it as a challenge and we started actually having a conversation. And after a few questions, I said, you know, bottom line got down to, well, why the heck do you charge $3 or $4, I forget what it was now. Why do you charge more for cleaning shirts? I mean, why is it he's charging $1 and you're charging $3 or $4? And why should I pay you $3 or $4 versus $1? And so when we finally kind of peel back the onion, here's what it got down to. And this is going to completely gross you out. Wait till you hear this, right? He said the reason these guys can offer really cheap dry cleaning is because when they clean shirts, they use the same dirty solvents over and over again. In other words, like they bulk wash everybody's stuff together. So when you send a shirt or a dress or a pair of pants or whatever it is you're sending to get dry cleaned, just know that for most dry cleaners, your clothes are getting washed with all this other public laundry and dirty solvents. And I mean, think of how gross and disgusting that is. And when he told me that, not only did I want to throw up because it was completely just gross, but it made me say, well, you know, I've never heard that explained before. Why aren't you telling your customers that? And it was like a light bulb kind of went on. I'm like, we did a quick poll. I said, in the room here, guys, how many of you would gladly pay $5 to get your shirt cleaned if you knew it was being cleaned independent of other people's dirty laundry and you were using clean solvents and clean water every single time you were washing it? And everybody's hand went up. I mean, every single hand went up. So I said, there's your value proposition. Sometimes, it's just a matter of educating the prospect. Most prospects, when they don't know the difference between dry cleaner A and dry cleaner B, and they don't know the process and they don't know why, they go with the cheapest price because they can see, well, hey, this dry cleaner's $1, this guy's $5, and they seem to be doing the same thing, so why should I pay you $5 when I can get away with $1 over here? So if you ever struggle to compete on price, or people don't see the value of what you do, you have to educate them more. And we're going to get into that. You're going to love this upcoming slides because I'm going to show you how to educate your customers so that you can really drive home the value of what you do. Because if somebody's shopping on price, now there's always a segment of the marketplace that'll go for the buck shirts. They don't care. They're on a budget. They can't afford $5. And in IT services, there's always going to be some customers that's all they want to do is get the cheapest support they want. Let your competitors have them. That's fine. But there's a whole lot more people who just want quality. They want value for money. And if you explain to them why you're value for money, they'll buy from you. All right, also, you know you have a solid marketing strategy when all marketing activities for acquiring new clients, closing more sales is based on planned systems, not random acts of hope. And again, we touched on this a little bit. When you go into a sales meeting, do you know exactly what you're going to say when you show up? What's the first thing you say? How do you describe the value? How do you diagnose what's going on there? What questions do you ask? How do you present your solution, and how do you build value, overcome objections? If you don't have a mapped out process for that, you're winging it, and I'm telling you right now, it's crushing your sales. And then finally, your marketing should educate the prospect and provide value in advance. That's educational direct response marketing. We just touched on that. What is educational direct response marketing? I'm going to show you some examples so it brings it home, but in the case of the dry cleaners, educational direct response marketing on their websites and so forth would be why you never want to get your shirts washed for $1 a piece or something to that effect, and educating people, okay? So let's get in some basic questions you need to answer as you're building your marketing strategy. And by the way, if you don't know the answers to these questions, you don't have a marketing strategy, okay? So if you can't answer these clearly, concisely, you need to work on it, because in order for you to be effective at marketing, this is going to be the foundation. So the first thing you need to know is, who is your ideal customer? And then what is that customer worth to us over a year or over a lifetime? And I'm not talking, short-term sales. You really want to understand lifetime value of a customer, because that's going to help you to determine how much you can spend to acquire that customer. So for example, a lot of clients I talk to, they go, well, Google AdWords or direct mail or you name it, whatever it is, that's too expensive. We can't afford that. But when you look at what's a customer worth to you over the long term, it doesn't make sense. I'll give you an example. I had a client come to me one time, and they wanted me to consult with them for marketing. And one of the things I recommended was implementing a telemarketing implementing telemarketing into the mix. And they said, no, we can't do that. We tried, it's too expensive, doesn't work. And I said, really? I said, well, explain to me. What are you talking about? He said, well, we hired a telemarketing firm, and they were getting us appointments, but the problem is we were only closing 1 in 10 of the appointments they were setting, and they were charging us, I think it was like, $100 an appointment, or something to that effect. And I said, okay, so $100 appointment, and you're closing 1. Let me ask you this, what is the average customer worth to you in sales? And they said $10,000. Really? I said, yeah, $10,000. We sell managed services, and over a year, just a year, client's worth 10 grand. I said, okay, how much of that is profit? And they said $5,000, roughly $5,000 in profit. So I said, okay, so this telemarketing firm is sending you, let's see, they're doing for every 10 appointments, so they're charging you $100. That's $1,000 to make a sale, right? Because you're closing 1 in 10. And the average sale brings you $5,000 in profit. So for every $1,000 you're spending, you're getting $4,000 back. Explain to me how this is a bad deal. And it turns out, again, emotional knee-jerk reaction. Well, we're wasting time with these 10 appointments and not going on 9 appointments and only closing 1. And I'm like, hey, I agree. There's ways we should certainly look to tighten that up so you're not running around. But the math still works, you know? So you got to know what that lifetime value of a customer is in order for you to be able to accurately determine whether or not a marketing campaign is too expensive, not expensive as enough, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm going to tell you right now, based on what I can tell in the marketplace today, and this always changes and there's a lot of variables, but getting a managed services customer can cost you anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 per customer. So it's, and that's really hard for some people to get their heads around when they're used to only getting referrals and not paying for those. So when they have to start actually spending money to get customers, that's when this starts to kick in. And guys, I'm telling you right now, if you want to grow beyond referrals only, you really got to understand marketing math. You got to understand what a lead costs. You got to understand what it costs to get you a customer, what the lifetime value is, what's the profit and return on that, and you got to nail those numbers, because if you don't know that, again, you're not going to be able to be strategic in your marketing plan. Also, who or what are they using now? If you went to your ideal customers, what are they using right now? Who are they using right now? And it's important to know that, because that's what you've got to sell against. Also, number 3, what are their key frustrations and problems? What are they frustrated with? I could tell you in most cases, most business owners just want the IT stuff to work. They don't want extra aggravation. They want it to be invisible. They just want everything to work. They don't want a big relationship. They don't want you to take them to lunch all the time and all. They just want it to work. And the challenges they're typically having with whoever they're using now is that they're very unresponsive. When they call them and they need help, they don't respond fast enough. They don't follow through on their commitments, and things just keep going wrong, and it seems like they're just constantly chasing their tail or dealing with technical problems. And so knowing that, and that's in most cases. Again, you want to research this and find out and validate this. Just don't take my word for it. But go to prospects when you're in there and say, what's frustrating you? Who are you using now? And what don't you like about them? And that's going to give you a clue as to where your value could be in the marketplace. Also, what are the most important factors that influence their buying decision and who they trust? Once you know that, you want to put that in your marketing message, all right? So if they value someone who can get everything to work, you don't want to go out there in the marketplace and start talking about 24/7 all-you-can-eat support. They don't care about that. They want to know if you're going to be responsive, are you going to make things work, are you going to do what you say, show up on time, and keep your commitments. All right? They don't care how you do it. They don't care if it's managed services or something else. So in knowing that what they want and what's most important to them, that's what you want to promote on your website. That's what you want to say that you specialize in. And by the way, you should. Don't ever falsify, just use marketing to say you can do certain things that you can't deliver. So don't do that. All right. Also, who are our competitors? What do we offer that they don't? And where do they beat us? And you got to know this. It's, again, amazing to me how many IT providers or whatever you are, whatever service you're selling, has never secret shopped your competition. It's amazing. I have clients who, some of them sell to home users, and that's fine. There's some clients I have that are very profitable with that. So don't just buy into this, they won't spend the money. That's BS. If that was the case, then Best Buy and all these other companies wouldn't be spending millions or billions of dollars trying to reach that market. So don't dismiss it. But if you sell to home users, you better go over to Best Buy, or you better check out Office Max and Office Depot and all these other office supply stores that are now selling support to them. It might be the crappiest support in the world, but you got to know what it is. You got to know to sell against it. Also, why should someone buy from us? And when you answer that question, can everyone else say that? Are we articulating the reasons that someone should buy from us in a clear, powerful way in all marketing communications and promotions? And again, you got to be really clear on that. You've got to answer that question, why buy from us? And you got to articulate that. You can't just say we're better. That's, what good's that? How will we validate our claims and build massive credibility? And how can we provide a strong argument as to the value of our services? And then finally, what is our pricing strategy?